What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas back with you. We are going to talk all things Debby as it's impacting Florida as we speak. In that box below me, we're going to have the continuous kind of loop there of the satellite, the track, and the model. So as all of that comes updated, the fresh updates from the National Hurricane Center, you will see them right here instantly. So we're going to be talking a lot about that, of course. And then in this big window, we're going to do a lot of the real-time tracking. So I'm going to switch that source over because we have had several tornado warnings on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Polk County is the furthest east it has gotten, and we're just really going to break down the stuff kind of in real time. We'll go over the latest advisories, tornado watches, things like that. And basically, for the entire state of Florida, we're under that tornado watch until 8 o'clock tonight. As you may imagine, you see all that twisting there. We have that increased wind shear as a result. We are coming at you live on clickorlando.com, News 6 Plus, the Pinpoint Weather and Hurricane app, and of course on the Just Weather YouTube page and on the WKMG News 6 YouTube page. We're going to be here for a while, guys, so anytime you want to hop in and hop out for the best information on what is now Tropical Storm Debby, but is expected to begin rapidly intensifying over the next several hours to at least Category 1 hurricane strength as it pushes towards the northern side of the Big Bend. We're going to have all of the latest on that. So post in the comments where you're tuning in from. Any questions, I'll do my best to get to them, and we're going to get at it. Since we don't have any active tornado warnings right now, we are going to go through kind of where we stand at this point with the system itself. So we're going to look at the 2 o'clock advisory, and remember, we get the 2 o'clock advisory. That's just the intensity and the position updates. We get the new track at 5 o'clock Eastern, so we're about 2 hours away from that. But you will notice again from the 11 o'clock advisory the change in intensity. What was a 75-mile-per-hour storm, now a 90-mile-per-hour storm, expected by the time we get to the Panhandle. So all these different colors here, that red, that is a hurricane warning. The yellow, that lighter yellow, that's for Polk County into Lake and Eastern Marion. That's a tropical storm watch. Still, there's a little uncertainty as does it make that curve towards the right, or does it kind of stay to the left of that track? So that is why there's a watch, and then that kind of beigeish orange color from about Cape Coral all the way through the western side of Gainesville and into southern Georgia. That is a tropical storm warning. So just wanted to get you up to date with that. We currently have a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm. And again, this isn't a major hurricane by any means, but it's certainly impactful. We've already had some flooding, some low-end storm surge on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Post in the comments also what you are seeing out there. And again, if you do want to stay updated on this throughout the duration that Debby is around and beyond, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button for me, and we'll keep you posted, of course, for the rest of Debby and the rest of hurricane season, which, if you've seen, there's another wave out there. We're likely just getting started on a very active stretch. So I had some questions. Ethan mentioned about Irma didn't change at the last second. Irma was, you might be thinking of Charlie or Ian. Irma was forecast at one time to come up the east side of Florida, and then it had land interaction with Cuba, and then that kind of changed the trajectory for that to come up the west side, then right up the spine of the peninsula. So a little bit different there. Ethan says here in Deltona, and AccuWeather is predicting 70. I do not think you're going to get a 70-mile-per-hour wind gust in Deltona tomorrow. That would be extremely overachieving if that were the case, unless you get under one of those severe thunderstorms. So I'm not sure why AccuWeather is predicting that as well. And carbon fibers, correct, steering patterns are different. Yeah, we have a trough, we have a dip in the jet stream, but that is not, it's not as aggressive, that turn is not as sharp. All right, so I want to get you back to the actual radar here, and we're going to do a little bit of a radar tour across the state of Florida. We can see here now, here is our center. No lightning or anything, so it's still not going gangbusters just yet. This is one of the things that we were talking about over the past couple of days. We needed to the storm needs to have a core before it can take advantage of the environment. Now, the environment is pretty much pristine. There's little wind shear. The water temperatures, as we all know, are pushing 90 degrees in this part of the Gulf of Mexico. It just took a second, thankfully, to build up its inner core. And while it was doing that, it was missing out on a lot of that jet fuel, if you will. It's going to start to do so, and it will likely intensify right on into land. So we're going to wait to see what we kind of get out of this over the next 12 to 24 hours with a projected landfall somewhere in and around tomorrow morning, 5 to 8 o'clock into the morning. So keep that in mind. Stand by 1 second. Might be having some audio issues. Post in the comments if you're hearing audio issues as well. Tiffany's asking, could we get severe? So, Tiffany, yes. Unfortunately, we're in that tornado watch until 8 o'clock tonight. The main band that we are going to watch here, and we can kind of see some things, we're going to be watching these guys here, and then anything in this band right in through here. So that's where we've had the tornadoes today. Let me pause this. So I can actually highlight this. Western Ocala has a tropical storm warning. That is correct. Okay, awesome. Thank you guys for that audio. It must be on our internal thing that we are hearing some chippy audio. So I appreciate that. And if any time the broadcast seems a little weird or chippy, hopefully you don't see that it's weird, but things like that, let me know, because every now and then there could be some technical things as there always are, I guess. Ethan, I do see the tornado watch being extended, especially for northeast Florida and then the eastern panhandle. I'm getting my handy-dandy social thing so that I can pull over your comments. That's what I like to do. I forgot to load that up there. Thank you guys for double-checking the audio as well. Hey, what's going on, Jeff, in Citrus County? All right, so that's kind of the deal where we stand. Thankfully, things are relatively tame in terms of the tornadic stuff right here. This, though, is what we're going to be watching. See these little guys? Let me pause the radar loop here so that I can show you what's actually going on. So I'm going to bring that up, and I'm just juggling a bunch of cameras around. It's these guys here. Anything that's embedded the darker reds, and then anything in this line. Those are going to be the two most tornado-producing lines within that, and then anything that might try to skirt the extreme Gulf Coast. So those are going to be the things that at least from a central Florida perspective, if you're tuning in from the greater Marion County area or Volusia County, Orange, Seminole, Brevard, Osceola, Orange, in those areas, Lake and Sumter as well. For us, this is basically a walk in the park. We see afternoon thunderstorms, sometimes more intense. The deal that I'm looking at, though, is more often than not, those afternoon thunderstorms are not tornado-producing storms, and these ones are going to have the potential to do that. So that's kind of why we have that extended, make sure you're staying weather aware in central Florida, even though the center of the storm is going to push somewhere in that direction. So that's why we're here, and we're tracking this thing. And, of course, we're going to be watching for the potential for a strong Category 1 hurricane making landfall, maybe even Cat 2 making landfall somewhere in the Big Bend early tomorrow morning. So we're here to have you covered in that sense. So I'm going to take you back to the radar. And, again, now is a nice quiet portion, relatively speaking. And every now and then I'm just looking over and checking the comments. So keep the comments coming. If ever you're finding this live stream helpful, give it a thumbs up. It helps it to push it out to YouTube a little bit more. I want to make sure that people get the information that they might be looking for and all that stuff. So keep the comments coming. It's always great hanging out with you guys. Although I wish we could do it on a sunny day when we're not talking about potential damaging storms. And again, I want to stress again that it is certainly not a major hurricane here, but this is still going to be impacting people, which is why we're on and which is why we are watching this closely. And still the severe weather side of this is a possibility, and that's why we're going to be hanging out with you guys for a long time. Paula, thank you for that. All right, so Carbon Fiber says any further damaging thunderstorms for Lake County. Got this 50-mile-per-hour damaging thunderstorm an hour or two ago. Yeah, I was driving into work, got in at about 12:30 today, and went through one of those that came through Orange County, and that was a little rough. So the deal is, so here's us, obviously, in Lake County, right in through here, Howie in the Hills. I think, oh, you didn't mention a spot. That was somebody else that mentioned Howie in the Hills. But nonetheless, we're going to be watching these guys. Okay, so these are going to be the ones that are going to have the potential to produce some damaging wind gusts and some tornadoes. So we're not going to be out of the woods from that until likely late tonight and maybe even early tomorrow morning. Let me change radars. So you're going to hear me say this a lot, just kind of some of the nomenclature here for how we do the live stream. We have access to a bunch of different radars. The further away you get from the radar, the less reliable the data comes. You can only see about, give or take, about 125 miles. So you'll see me switching back from the Melbourne, which of course is in Brevard County, the Tampa radar, which is on right now, and then the Jacksonville radar once this thing gets a little bit further to the north. So we're going to go back to the Melbourne radar just to see what's going on with these guys. And right now, they're not too terribly strong. These things are going to have to get some lightning with them to be able to take advantage of the wind shear in the atmosphere. And hopefully they never do. But we've already had a couple of tornado warnings, of course, over the last, several hours since late this morning. There's a little ad running there because they have our live stream thing that you can pull up on clickorlando.com.
Take care of yourself and your eyes. Visit 2020 Eyeglass Superstore for blue light protection glasses.
And like I was saying before, from a Central Florida perspective, this is just kind of hanging out, watching some thunderstorms slide on through, and that's about it. Pretty much like a routine severe weather day, how we always say, okay, got to be weather aware, things like that, all that stuff. So anything there. All right, so I have a question about North Carolina. I do think Wilmington, North Carolina could be impacted, and significantly. What the deal is, the deal with that is, let me see where I lost my train of thought. There could be some stalling going on as it moves into North Florida, Georgia, and then parts of the Carolinas. So we're going to, we can take a look at that a little bit later on as well, kind of the long-term life of this thing. Let me make sure that the audio is off on this ad. Where the heck did it go? Okay, so we're going to make sure that is muted so that the ad doesn't screw anything up next time. All right, we're going to pull that back over. And if anybody's watching, let's see, the worst of this right now, and again, it's mainly just heavy rain. It's mainly just... Give me one sec. Just getting a message from... I'm just going to send this to the radar. We'll be right back. All right, we got our first troll of the live stream. We're going to talk about James B here. All right, we're going to pull in his comment right here. Let me get my comment thing straight up. We got our first. Okay, let me pull this in. So James B says that meteorologists love to make it sound worse than it is, keeps their jobs. Not true. I'm actually missing a weekend with my wife right now, streaming this to make sure that everybody gets the information. So I would love to be home, hanging out on my weekend, chilling with my wife. So James B, there's a timeout section on YouTube these days, so I'm going to put you in YouTube timeout. So there you go. So that is not true. We are here to make sure that people, if they want information, can get the information, and that's why we are here. So James B, first troll of the live stream, you get that award. All right, so let's see here. So, Angel, I think Tallahassee, we're going to be on the right-hand side of it. I don't think you're going to get it too bad, but we will have some heavy rain coming through, and then we're going to have some gusty winds, maybe up to hurricane force. So, again, just keep that in mind, that it's not going to – you'll notice that there's a hurricane there. Let me turn on some of the watches and warnings for you, and we will do that. I know that the live stream that one of our other secondary streams is having audio issues, so we may have to pause the stream for a little bit and then get back with you. I know the other thing, the YouTube stuff is going to be through, but anyway. So we have to deal with that side of things right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep this looping for the time being, and don't go anywhere. I'm going to keep the loop with you, and we'll get back with you soon for the latest updates here. So stand by. Sorry, guys. Hey guys, we're back. Sorry about that. We had some audio issues on one of our secondary channels that is on our actual website on clickorlando.com. All right, so keep the comments coming. I guess James is gone, so we're going to move on. I mean, whatever. We're not going to pay attention to him anyway. But here's the deal right now. So far, there's some very, very heavy rain in Lakeland, Lakeland Highlands, Bartow, Fort Meade, Zephyr Hills, Dade City. That's where we have the strongest stuff. There's nothing severe. There is, we'll check this a little bit closer. Let's go to the Tampa radar. There might be a little bit of shenanigans going on right here, actually. So just north of Bartow, there's no tornado warning yet. I would suspect you might get one soon. Notice that little thing here. So if anybody's watching from Lakeland, do I have anybody tuning in from Lakeland, Florida? Right here, we have a couplet starting to develop and moving in that direction. Again, there's no tornado warning on that at this point, but we might have one soon. Every now and then I'm going to look over here. We have a direct line to the National Weather Service, and they kind of give us a heads up when they're thinking of issuing warnings. So I'm going to go to the Tampa feed.
Visit 2020 Eyeglass Superstore for blue light protection glasses. We can make them for you in less than an hour. Plus, get $39 off your eye exam.
But we're going to watch that closely coming out of Tampa. There could be certainly embedded rotation in there, but nothing right now coming through. That stupid ad. There's always something interesting, Natalie. Always something interesting. You guys keep it so funny. Keep it so funny. I think that ad is gone. We're not going to bring out that double box anymore. So you shouldn't. There is no severe thunderstorm warning for Lake County right now. Everything is to the south and west of Lake County. So there's no severe thunderstorm warning for Lake County at this point. Everything is just to your south and west in Polk County. So we're watching, and again, things like this. So let's check in on. And this kind of removes all the noise, and anywhere you see kind of the darker greens, that's where the radar is picking up on some of that rotation. So certainly some lines there. Let's get back to the actual computer. Nothing popping up on the storm relative. There's a little bit of shear here just southwest or southeast of Lakeland and all that. Are you guys still seeing ads right now? You shouldn't be seeing any ads and all that. Okay, so let me back this up. We've got some strong winds around Zephyr Hills, Dade City, Bushnell, Webster. Okay, we're going to be watching a little bit of wind shear right here. This is going to be south of Webster and into Sumter County. So we might see, okay, so we were pinpointing, we're going to stay on this. Okay, are you guys still seeing ads? I'm so sorry about this. There shouldn't be any ads popping up. Okay, because we should have had the double box, and one of the things I was pulling had the ads in. Don't want any ads on this feed for sure. All right, so we're watching this cell south of Webster in Sumter County because it is showing a little bit of signs that it's trying to rotate just a little bit. There's nothing crazy there, but we are watching that. Let me scroll down. And then we're also watching just north of Bartow and then southeast of Lakeland. Eastern Volusia, for the most part, Sean, it's going to be a couple of inches of rain, and just whenever you get those thunderstorms, most of the heavy, steady stuff is going to be to your west until later tonight. So keep that in mind. For us, it's mainly going to be just like a couple of rounds of your afternoon thunderstorms coming through there. So it shouldn't be anything too wild. But we're still in that tornado watch in Volusia, so keep that in mind, that some of those storms later this afternoon and then into the early part of the evening could spin a little bit. Jensen Beach should be good. You might get some of those feeder bands coming through. But the bulk of this is going to stay away from you in Jensen Beach. And thank you, Florida Girl and Lexi Lynn on the YouTube, on the New 6 YouTube page for talking about where the audio issues are. Can't do this without you guys. So thank you so much for helping out with that stuff. As we're kind of watching all of the weather. Rotation might be trying to increase. What we're looking at here is the green is toward the radar. We have a little bit of green showing up, and then the red is away from the radar. So this is going to be south of Webster in Sumter County, and then all of that is pushing in that direction. So just keep that in mind as we kind of stay southeast of Webster, that we're watching some rotation slide through right there. We have a few little spots southeast of Haines City popping up. Let's turn on the actual radar with that cell there. Again, these are going to try to be mini supercells sliding through where the thunderstorm develops. There's some wind shear because we have the strengthening tropical system in the Gulf, and then we have the winds out of the south and east at the surface. Up top, they're out of the south and west. That induces the wind shear. I am in Orlando, the Central Florida area. DJ Broke, where were you at? Are you on the Gulf side, on the Tampa-ish side, Sarasota? I know there's been some street flooding reported there with the heavy rain. It has been raining certainly much, much heavier on the Gulf side, and you can see that right there. There's the actual swirl. There's the low itself of Debby, and then all of the super heavy rain coming through. We can turn on some storm reports and see what is out there. I don't have any concrete reports of any kind of tornado touchdowns or things like that, thankfully. But we have had several warnings this morning. Oh, gotcha. Okay, from Tallahassee. Okay, cool. Because I know there was some street flooding in around the Tampa area, some of the storm reports coming in. But yeah, Harvey was a whole different beast in Texas. All right, so Zephyr Hills. Let's take a look. Right now, and this is what we're going to be watching, the potential for some street flooding here. This is the main deal with everything today, is that we can get these training thunderstorms or these banding features within Debby that just continue to move over the same areas. So we're getting that on the northern side of Zephyr Hills, southern side of Dade City. very heavy rainfall. And again, not a lot of lightning. Typically, you don't get a lot of lightning within a tropical system because it's coming out of the tropics and there's a lot of warmth generated by these things and all that stuff. Jacksonville certainly going to have the opportunity to get a lot of heavy rain from Debby. Let me go to a computer forecast for you. Let me switch my computer source, and we'll check that out. The rainfall potential here. This is going to be from a Central Florida perspective. This is through, let's back it up and go through Monday evening. So again, more often than not, Central Florida is going to be okay. We are going to be watching, I think, west of Orlando, the heaviest stuff comes through. And then here we go. Jacksonville does not look like that much according to this. But anywhere in this purple, that's where we could get 10-plus inches of rain. So certainly around the landfall spot and then going to southern Georgia. I can turn on, I'm going to bring out my telestrator here. So stand by with me for 1 second. I'm going to load all this fancy stuff in, and we're going to get going on all of this stuff. So I'm adding this in real time so that I can make sure that I get all this stuff for you guys. And if those that are tuning in from outside of the greater Central Florida area can see what is going on. So let me add my places. Okay. Perfect. And now we're going to run this model again. And as soon as that goes on through, so you see where the heavy rain is, and you can see where the stalling. So look at all that, 13 inches east of Tallahassee, up to a foot of rain, maybe more. And it's really in this white area, and that continues to go to around Savannah, southeast of Macon, Georgia, south of Augusta, Georgia, and then out over the Atlantic again. So the storm wants to move up through here and then do some weird things and then kind of stall. So Jacksonville, I mean, a lot of the times, too, when you're talking about these tropical systems and model forecasts, especially this kind of model here, it underdoes it because you can get a thunderstorm, and we all know it, even on a regular summer day, can drop a couple of inches of rain in Florida. So we're kind of at the mercy of that. So I would really expect there to be more rain than the model is forecasting, kind of right in here, because we're going to make up a lot of that from Spring Hill to Dade City to Fort Meade to Avon Park really, really fast. One of the things here that we're going to keep an eye on is this secondary, these little itty-bitty supercells that are trying to get going. Nothing concerning at this point. Let me change the radar perspective back to Melbourne so that we can get a better look at those. Anywhere, and there's a little bit. See how that gets a little, that bright red right there? There's some right there. There's one right there. One right there that's a little far away from the radar, though. And those are going to be where we could end up seeing tornado warnings. So that's going to be east of Haines City, right around the Point Siena area, and then around the Four Corners area. Again, there's nothing imminent. There's nothing that would suggest that something is imminent. But these tropical tornadoes, as you may know, they drop quick and then they go up quick because they are typically weak. If you remember Beryl from a few weeks ago, for our friends in like Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, an insane amount of strong tornadoes. That was very atypical of a landfalling tropical system with how strong that is. The Keys, this is mainly past the Keys. It certainly could become a Category 2 hurricane before landfall. It won't change the impacts too much because it's expected to be a strong Cat 1. Right now it's forecast to be a 90-mile-an-hour storm at landfall. Category 2 starts at 96, so we're really only 6 miles per hour away from that. So I really wouldn't pay attention to the category here. I don't think it's going to be able to ramp up into a major hurricane unless something crazy happened with it. Still, though, it's trying to get its structure together before it goes. And this is really the first time, at least from a radar perspective, that we're seeing the eastern eye wall begin to develop. That's been one of the things. Let me try to see if I can pull up some a different kind of radar tool, or satellite tool, I should say. because I can kind of show you what's going on under the hood, as we call it. The next hurricane season forecast, Colorado State issues theirs, I think, in a couple of days. They have their update in August, and then it should be very soon from NOAA. I think there's going to be some weird stuff happening here with the system, and I don't think it's going straight up the eastern seaboard. I can show you here. We're about an hour and 15 minutes away from the next forecast cone. So let me show you what the cone looked like from 11 o'clock this morning. And we get them at 11 o'clock, and then at 5 o'clock Eastern time, that is. And here is the latest cone. So the forecast does show it after some shenanigans down here, and you see all the forecast plates kind of on top of each other. It slows down big time around South Georgia, South Carolina, and then weakens considerably as it moves toward North Carolina and Virginia. So some rain trying to move through the Mid-Atlantic as we get into the end of this work week coming up. But it should not. I mean, if it were to stay on the western or the eastern side of that cone, certainly could be a little bit more problematic, but there's a lot of uncertainty as to where the next round of steering currents kind of picks this up and then takes it back out. So that's what we're going to kind of do here, modeling for it. See this weird thing that the models do? They kind of hook it out towards Savannah, Georgia, and then some of them bring it back in and then bring it up. So then the models go towards Philly, New York. But at that point, that's going to be that will be a much weaker system, but still some flooding concerns are going to be with that if anybody's tuning in from the Northeast. All right, so have a request for the wind gust forecast. So let's get into that. So I will show that. Let me get back to the other weather computer now. Okay, so from a Central Florida perspective, I mean, it's going to be nothing too crazy. Okay, so this is what we're talking about here. Maybe getting wind gusts of 45 miles an hour from up to into Ocala, Denellen, Gainesville area. This is Monday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then some stronger gusts along the immediate east coast of Florida. The strongest stuff would be right around landfall. Let me back this up. And where we have that dark brown color, and for perspective, let me turn on this. So this is going to be around Tallahassee, around Perry. I mean, very, very close to where Adalia came ashore. Tallahassee, Perry, that's where we can have wind gusts 75, 90 miles an hour, maybe even pushing 100 miles an hour, because it's expected to make landfall as a 90 mile per hour storm somewhere in between Tallahassee and Perry. And then we could have gusts about 10, 20 miles an hour above that. So that's where we're going to have the strongest winds, no doubt, right around landfall. And that's going to be toward the Big Bend of Florida. And then it weakens a little bit, Valdosta into Albany. That's where we have wind gusts of 45, 50 miles an hour in and around Tifton, Douglas. So tropical storm conditions going to be expected there. So again, it's going to be pretty consolidated into where the strongest of the winds will be, and right around the landfall site. Really everywhere else outside of that, especially in extreme North Florida, South Georgia, into South Carolina, that is where we are watching for some big-time flooding out of the deal. I'll turn on the computer forecast for the entire event. We'll start this at 8 o'clock tonight. This is 8 o'clock on Sunday. And to give you some perspective, again, the strongest of the thunderstorms should start to be pushing offshore at this point on the east coast of Florida, just kind of like what we're watching now, moving through the Lakeland area into parts of Sumter County. And then it spirals, and then there's the landfall area, at least according to this model here, sometime in between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. This is right at 8 o'clock in the morning, with some pretty heavy stuff coming through Gainesville, on the west side of Jacksonville as well, and all that jazz. And then that's where it really slows down, because it makes landfall at about, again, mid to late morning. And then it's still just hanging around the Georgia-Florida line, and then doesn't move much. There's 12 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, and we're still talking about that system slowly spiraling there. It's overland, so it's weakening, but it's moving slow, and that's a lot of tropical moisture. So, again, watching for a big-time flood threat in parts of the southeast U.S. because of that system. Hey, Melissa, yeah, there's going to be the opportunity for some heavy rain for you. Most of that's going to be to your west, but there will be a few thunderstorms throughout the day today. You have some rain just south of you at this point. We'll get back to the radar. Nothing too terribly heavy. It's a certainly healthy tropical downpour. Let me get this off. I need to get back to the Melbourne radar to take a look at this. And there it is. So, again, it's nothing too crazy. Just some light to moderate rain getting ready to pull through the land. Orange City, we have some of those tropical downpours. St. Augustine, some light to moderate rain. Gainesville into Alachua, some heavier stuff. And then that heaviest band right here. And the good thing is, so far, everything in these little kidney bean-shaped cells in this line, those are going to be the two lines that we are watching the closest at this point for the potential for severe weather and the potential for tornadoes. And so far, they tried to spin just a little bit, but nothing too crazy at this point. So that's how I like it. So we're just kind of sitting here on guard at this present time. Okay, let's see here. Yes, give me 1 second. I'm going to check up on that Yeehaw Junction situation for you. Somebody asked about Madison County, and I can't see the comment. There's so many comments coming through. So I know there was Madison County. Expect hurricane conditions in Madison County. Wind gusts maybe to 75, 80 miles an hour in Madison County. And some very heavy rain, maybe up to a foot of rain or more. So that's going to be one of the harder hit areas, relatively speaking, because it's going to slow down. So we're going to get those big-time tropical downpours continuing and all that as well. Let me see. to say. All right, so hey, real quick, because I'm going to catch my bearings here. Governor Ron DeSantis is talking, so we're going to dip into what he is saying. And he's talking about this, where the state of emergency is and an update from their perspective. So I'm going to get you over to him as we speak. I'm just going to switch my sources here, and then we're going to listen to what the governor has to say. Stand by.
Days. The Department of Management Services has issued state office closures on their website. To see if you're today or tomorrow, visit dms.myflorida.com, dms.myflorida.com. Florida Department of Health has deployed 117 emergency vehicles to support emergency evacuations and patient transport as needed. Staging is currently in Jackson and in Marion counties. The Department of Health is also collecting information for those who may have or care for individuals with special needs and may seek assistance. And you can sign up for that at snr.floridahealthresponse.com, snr.floridahealthresponse.com. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection has pre-authorized 850 disaster debris management sites for the 61 counties under the state of emergency to temporarily stage storm-generated debris. Now is the time to exercise your disaster preparedness plan. The storm, we're already seeing impacts in southwest Florida. We're going to continue to see impacts across the west coast of Florida, but it is going to, the eye of the storm is going to hit the state of Florida tomorrow. So execute your plan. If you have been if you have been ordered to evacuate by your local officials, please heed that call. And when you're evacuating, you don't have to drive hundreds of miles. There's shelters within each county. Every county has a pet-friendly shelter. There's accommodations for people with special needs. So heed that advice and make sure you're protecting yourself. Now, if your plan is to simply hunker down in your home, then just do so, and that's fine. And I think the winds, Category 1 or even 2, most homes in the state of Florida are going to be able to withstand that. Pets, I mentioned, there are pet-friendly shelters, but please make sure they have what they need to ride out the storm. We want to make sure that we're not leaving any pets behind. It's never safe to walk or drive in flooded roadways. As I mentioned, there are hidden dangers. There are potentially downed electrical lines. So please do not mess with that. Do not try to drive in it. This stuff subsides. There'll be pumps. There'll be a bunch of things that will be happening. I know people want to kind of get out. They got things to do. They want to check on things, but it is hazardous, and we want to avoid any loss of life with this storm. Generators. Make sure you properly use generators. We have had in the past, although not in the more recent storms, I think because there's been an emphasis on this messaging, but you cannot use a generator inside your home or inside your garage. It will produce carbon monoxide that can kill you. So make sure a generator is positioned outside your home and that the exhaust is not coming inside your home. So please, if you using a generator is fine. People want to have power. I get it, and do it, but just do it in a way that's going to be safe. So please do not have your gasoline engines inside your home, and make sure they are in use, not just outside, but at least 20 feet away from your home. Emergency alerts can save lives, so please have multiple ways to receive those alerts and act when you receive them. Listen to your emergency management officials at your local level. They're going to have information specific to your part of the state of Florida. And if you want to find that emergency management information, you go to floridadisaster.org/counties. So this is a similar path to what we saw last year with Hurricane Idalia. It is going to be much wetter. We're going to see much more inundation across, really across the northern part of the state north of I-4, but particularly in north central Florida. You're going to have the potential for some significant flooding. That creates hazards, that creates risk. So please take care of yourself, heed the warnings that you receive at the local level. We have a whole host of resources that are staged and ready to go. And if there's somebody that's in harm's way as the storm passes, we have search and rescue that will be there. Local law enforcement will be there, local emergency response, our National Guard, our Fish and Wildlife. There's all hands on deck for this. So execute your plan. We're going to work as soon as this storm passes to get the power back on and to help the Floridians who may be in need. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Thank you, Governor. And as always, I appreciate your leadership and support for the Division of Emergency Management. Tropical Storm Debby is expected to continue to rapidly strengthen into a hurricane before making an early morning landfall here in the Big Bend tomorrow. It is not outside the possibilities, as the Governor has already said, as a strong Cat 1 hurricane, maybe even a low-end Cat 2 hurricane. We continue to work on requested resources from counties, but many areas have already begun to feel the storm's impacts. We have been getting information from south of Tampa Bay all the way down to Fort Myers and Naples that there is storm surge of about 2 feet, that they have had several inches of rain, and we're seeing those impacts down there. We are now starting to see more impacts come into the Nature Coast, Hernando, Citrus, Levy, Dixie counties. So again, the storm is here for them, which leads me into the next piece is if you are in the Nature Coast, getting ready to come into the Big Bend, it is time to effectuate your plan. You need to be locking it in, locking down. Do not get out on the roadways. Make sure that you're staying indoors. So please make sure you're doing that. If you're in Northeast Florida, North Central Florida, you still have some time, but those hours are starting to wane. So please make sure you're doing what you need to do. Whatever you decide to do, make sure it's best for your family, and you must do it now. If you're ordered to evacuate by local officials, and there are several evacuation orders in place, please remember you only have to travel tens of miles to those shelters. You do not need to travel all the way across the state. Do not leave your pets behind. There is at least one pet-friendly shelter in your area that can travel with you to that shelter. Make sure you have the leashes and carriers and plenty of food and water for your pets. If you are sheltering in place, identify a place in your home away from windows and external doors where you can safely shelter. If you're on the coast, you need to go ahead and move to the second floor. We are starting to see areas that may receive upwards of 6 feet of storm surge. If you're unsure about the next steps of what to do, please contact your local emergency management office, or if you're in this situation where we have incidents happening right now, call your 911 office. Your yard should be debris free at this point if you're in north central Florida and you're in northeast Florida, the capital region. Again, if you can pick it up, you need to put it up. We will continue to emphasize the important, this next important point, which is it's never safe to walk or drive through flooded roadways. Not only can it cause accidental drowning, but floodwaters are gross and unsafe and can contain many hazards. So please, please make sure that you are not messing around in those floodwaters. Make sure you have fresh batteries in your supply kit and a hand crank weather radio so you don't miss any important updates from your local officials. I will go back and talk again about the generator safety. We have been doing a great job since Hurricane Ian on the fatalities related to generators have gone way down. You've already heard the governor talk about 20 feet away from an open door, an open window. I'm going to finish the second 220s, which is if you have to refuel, make sure you shut your generator down for at least 20 minutes. So 20 feet away from any open door and an open window, 20 minutes to cool down, and then go ahead and spend $20 and get a carbon monoxide detector. Those are the things that we want you to follow on the 20-20-20 rule as it relates to generators. Be sure that you follow the agency on X and Instagram at FLSERT and on Facebook at FDEM as we continue sharing important information to Floridians looking for resources or preparing and getting all your state updates. You can go to floridadisaster.org/updates for additional information. And again, Governor, thank you for your leadership.
As you look at the the track of this, it is obviously.
Alrighty, guys, you've been listening to the governor and Kevin Guthrie. Kevin Guthrie is a friend of the show, friend of the stream. He is obviously giving an update, the director of the Division of Emergency Management for the state of Florida. He does a great job making sure that everybody is prepared as well. Ethan, I would like you to, if you can, in the comment section, you mentioned something about the Central Florida stations getting on the same page. Could you elaborate on that? I'm interested into what you mean by that. And I would like to know more about your feelings on that. Just curious. But let's take a look at all this stuff. So far, everything is quote unquote behaving. Again, from a Central Florida perspective, the main deal here was to just watch for some localized flooding, gusty winds within the thunderstorms that develop, some very heavy rain, and then that tornado threat. That's been our concern with Debby the entire time, with the main impacts of this around the Landfall site, which is going to be closer to the Big Bend. So I want to be clear about that, and that's something that News 6 has talked about the entire time here, even when it looked like it was coming through a little bit further to the north and east. So all that stuff. So Derek is asking, is it true that there's another storm behind Debby? There is another tropical wave that could develop in the Caribbean over the next few days. And we'll be talking about that one as we get into next week on this channel. So if you're interested in staying up to date on the tropics, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. We're also going to take a short break. It was my hope to be able to keep this continuously live for a very long time. But we're having some kind of latency issues, and I want to make sure that this is healthy in the event we start popping up tornado warnings. So look for this feed to come back shortly. I'm not exactly sure what time. We have a newscast in the greater Central Florida area at 6:30. So if you are in the greater Central Florida area, meteorologist Samara Kokinos and myself will be talking about the Central Florida weather on TV. So make sure you dial in for that, and we will have you covered on that front. Then I will be back on here. I'll probably be back on here for the 5 o'clock advisory for a short time, and then we will come back for the extended period, as it looks like the tornado threat might start to ramp up over the next couple of hours, because we have Debby, which is getting stronger, and we have the wind shear increasing as a result as well. So before I go for just a short time, and if you do want to be with us for when we come back and really get into this, hit that subscribe button for me. That would be awesome if you hang out with us for the duration of this. Also post in the comments where you're tuning in from and everything. We're going to have a brand spanking new graphics and in-depth radar analysis and all that stuff. So we're going to have you covered on there. I'm going to break down some of the latest model information as we take a short break. But if you do want to catch us on the way back, make sure you hit that subscribe button again and set your notifications on, and then you will be alerted to when we get back on the live stream. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the conversation to date, to where we've been. And thank you again for the great comments and questions. You guys are awesome. Always fun to hang out with you guys. Wish it was under better weather terms anyway. But we are watching this closely, and we will continue to keep you updated. Again, I will see you very, very soon. Just want to get some of the things refreshed here and get some of the technical things that we're having on our app side taken care of. So for our other viewers that are watching this stream on the app, we'll be back soon. Hey, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. You won't be disappointed. I promise. We'll see you very soon, guys. Be safe out there.